Good evening, I'm Kathy Lewis, and here's what matters tonight. Most of us are paying more attention to what we consume. Between health scares from spinach, tomatoes, and pet food to concerns about the economic impact of shipping food from great distances, lots of people are looking to fill their tables closer to home. There are more and better farm markets throughout the region, and there's a growing movement whose goal is to connect consumers to the farmers who grow their food. It's called community-supported agriculture, and Lisa Godley has a look at how the movement is taking shape here in Hampton Roads.
The smell of fresh fruits and vegetables hits you immediately when you enter the 5 Points Community Farm Market. This produce has not traveled thousands of miles to get here, and it shows.
It's all about fresh and it's all about local.
Bev Sell runs the 5 Points Farm Market.
I mean, I've had so many people tell me they're just craving a real tomato. And we have real tomatoes, and we've got heirloom tomatoes, which means that seed has been around for a lot of years, and it really tastes like you wouldn't believe it. That red slimy thing on a Big Mac is not really a tomato. They have to taste it, they have to smell it. And once you've been there, it's real hard to go back to a really nice, fresh piece of produce.
The 5 Points Community Farm Market grew out of a desire to help revitalize this section of Norfolk. In addition to giving local farmers a place where they can sell their produce, the market serves as a small business incubator.
I'm taking the peas out of the shells, and so that we can put them inside of a plastic bag so we can sell them.
So we wanted to bring the good nutritional value into low to moderate income areas. For some reason, everybody thinks that low to moderate income areas shouldn't have the same food that high-end neighborhoods do, but we wanted to be in an area where we could provide it to all people and not just some people.
The 5 Points Community Farm Market is not only a place to get great fruits and vegetables, but it's a school of sorts where young people learn the benefits of eating locally grown produce. Just ask some of Bev's workers, like 16-year-old Damian Laws or 16-year-old Quinana Turner.
This food have good taste and stuff. Like, you can actually taste it when it get picked. You can taste everything.
If you want to determine the right kind of tomato, if it's ripe or not, you just smell the top of it, and if you get that good smelling, rich feeling, then that's what you do. You don't squeeze them or anything because they become bruised or anything. So if you want to determine if they're ripe or not, just like a cantaloupe, you want to determine if they're ripe or not, just smell the top of it and you'll get like a fresh scent or aroma smell. I smelled the top of the cantaloupe and I actually took a couple of them home, showed my mama how to do them. Now she knows how to do them. So I learned so much from this experience, and I want to do it again next summer.
I had a young man who was 14 years old who was restocking the potatoes, and he came over to me and he said, "My hands are dirty. Have these been on the ground?" And I had to explain that indeed they've been in the ground, not on the ground. And I said, "So where did you think they come from?" And he said, well, the only experience he had was out of a plastic bag in the freezer.
Bev Sell knows that education is crucial, and she's on a mission to make sure that people know what they're putting into their bodies and why buying the right foods locally is key.
1.1 million barrels of oil could be conserved if everyone in the United States ate one meal locally each week. I mean, that's phenomenal. I mean, our health is already suffering. Diabetes, childhood obesity, it's all spiraling, and we've got to get a hold on it. And we figure that this is the time. So we're doing it one community at a time.
For What Matters, I'm Lisa Godley.
Joining us, Bev Sell with the 5 Points Community Farm Market in Norfolk. Also, Michelle Sheehan with the Virginia Garden Organic Grocery, and that's out of the Virginia Beach Farm Market. Libby Oliver is joining us as well with the Williamsburg Farmers Market, and Kate Wilson, who is a longtime CSA supporter, is with us as well. Thanks to all of you for being with us today. I feel like I've dragged you out in the busiest time of your year. But one thing we didn't know is that many of these markets, most of them, are year-round. You're year-round, aren't you?
Yes, we are. The Virginia Beach Farmers Market, we have vendors that stay open. Some vendors stay open through January, and but I am year-round, and there are other vendors that are
Does that make a
year-round.
difference?
So yes, it makes a big difference to have a steady income year-round.
And Williamsburg's open what, May through?
May through October, and then holidays, and once a month in the winter.
And that's right down on Merchant Square,
Right in
typically?
the heart of the city.
Oh, it's just a marvelous thing. And of course, Bev Sell 5 Points moved from a very small former location, just shaking things up on Church Street.
Yeah, we moved from 3,000 square feet to 6,400 square feet.
Wow.
So, yes, wow, and I'm outgrowing that now.
Are you really?
Yes.
Plans to move, or are you going to stay?
Oh, no, just expand, do some different things.
Okay. And yours is really, as well, sort of a community gathering place.
Yes.
There's a lot of community support to it.
It's a great, good place.
Yeah.
It's a small business incubator. We have our own cafe now. We just got our hood and our stove in, so we're cooking up some good stuff.
Yeah. What we talked about at the top of the show, about the reasons why people are moving to this kind of thing, where they're wanting to get their fruits and vegetables closer to home. I love the story about the little child who didn't know that came out of the ground. I mean, that's heartbreaking on some important levels, isn't it?
Yes.
But this is all about really a movement that's taking shape. Largely, Kate Wilson, because of some books that people have started to read.
I think that's definitely true. I think there's been a lot in the general media about the importance of supporting local foods and why they're important. They're healthier for you, for one thing. Your nutrients that are naturally coming from those foods have not been degraded by thousands of miles of travel. I think that's really important. They certainly taste better. I think everybody has experienced that. But for me, wanting to support local agriculture and through a CSA and through supporting farmers markets, it's kind of twofold. One, I like the way the food tastes. And two, from an environmental perspective, it just makes more sense. Not only are you supporting local agriculture, supporting local farmers, I mean, these are individual people who are making Virginia's economy successful, but also oftentimes CSAs and local farmers are better environmental stewards. So I really like it from that angle as well.
And you, of course, have been so into this for so long. You're sort of my touchstone on this. You got in. How did you first get interested? I mean, is this something you grew up with in your own family, or was it something you sort of discovered later in life?
Both. I would definitely say both. My mother in particular has been an avid gardener for many, many years, so I grew up having small gardens that I could go out and pick from and experience that, and going down to Pungo in the summer and picking as a family. So that's been part of my experience. But also, when I lived in New York and also in Northern Virginia and had access to the wonderful farmers markets there, particularly I would say the Union Square Farmers Market in Manhattan is phenomenal experience, and I lived very close to that. And then when we lived in Arlington, there was great farmers markets there as well, and that's where I got hooked into the concept of CSAs.
And then you read Michael Pollan's The Omnivores Dilemma, which has changed a lot of people's worlds.
It absolutely has. Michael Pollan is definitely made an impact in terms of the general community, and I think Hampton Roads has now experienced him through Food Inc., which was just playing at the Narrow, and
he just was speaking a couple months ago in Richmond.
That's
as
right,
well.
through the Richmond Forum. So he is definitely out there. I think Barbara Kingsolver has also been a proponent. I have to confess that her book, Animal Vegetable Miracle, changed a lot of people's lives, and she's not the only one who took on this experience of trying to eat locally for a year and truly producing everything that they ate. And as much as I wish that I could do that, there's no way.
But you're pretty impressive, though. You've got a pretty rigorous.
I'm an urban liver, and I like that, and I can't accomplish that.
Well, lots of people are interested in this idea of changing the ways in which they're eating. And in fact, when Governor Kane was at the 5 Points Market last month, he had a lot to talk about in that regard as well.
I think the painful thing to say as a guy with 3 kids is the way we start is by modeling the right behavior. So, I've tried to, when I got elected governor, I had been a candidate and a political office holder for a number of years. I wasn't eating healthy and I wasn't exercising much. I decided when I got elected governor, look, for 4 years I've got to be at my peak in terms of my decision-making ability. Let me eat healthier, let me exercise more. And so for the last 4 years, I've really been eating healthier and exercising more. Not that I don't fall off the wagon on occasion, but like at Dumar's earlier today, but eating healthier and exercising more is something I do, and I actually see that if Ann and I do it, then it's not like a chore to convince our kids. They kind of see it. That's kind of what they expect. They don't know what 2% milk or whole milk tastes like. all they've ever had is skim milk, you know, and so there are things like that that if we do the right thing, then it just becomes second nature to them.
And that was Governor Kane at an appearance at the Five Points Market last month. Speaking of milk, I was appreciating the Governor talking about 2% milk, which brings me to you, Kate, because you are actually pasteurizing your own milk.
I do.
What does that mean? It just sounds complicated.
Pasteurizing is easy. We get milk from a farm in Suffolk. We actually...
Straight from the cow?
I'm not taking it straight from the cow, but yes,
somebody is.
They are Full Quiver Farm out in Suffolk, and we talked a little bit about this on the radio as well. But we own part of our cow, Gertie. We met Gertie as a family, so we get fresh milk from the farm weekly. And we do home pasteurize it, and pasteurizing is a really simple process. Basically, you put it in a double boiler, heat it to a certain temperature, cool it down rapidly, it's pasteurized.
And you said this is actually lasting you longer.
Pasteurizing, it is lasting us longer. We experimented with not pasteurizing it, and you know, the milk tastes the same.
Yeah.
I think I don't have a probably sensitive enough palate to taste the difference. But it spoils faster because there's more natural bacteria in there, and they're doing their bacteria thing.
They're doing their bacteria
exactly.
thing.
You know, I'm not talking it spoils in a day. It probably still, it started to turn probably, I don't know, in 6 days. But what was interesting from a scientific perspective in my home refrigerator is we tend to skim off of our cream. So I have probably close to skim or a 1% milk, and then we have the rest of the cream, and we use that to make ice cream or butter or something else, cheese. And the cream was turning faster too, so we were having sour cream, which is a great thing to have too. I'm happy to have sour cream. So if we didn't get around to making the butter,
great point.
Then we had homemade sour cream.
Yeah, you think that's just a marketing tool, what they call that, right? There's something behind that thing.
Exactly.
There is something behind that thing, no question about it. You know, Michelle Sheehan, you've been there for 25 years, which impresses me because back 25 years ago, there was not as much, there was not Michael Pollan's book, there was not all of this.
Right.
So to what do you attribute this longevity in that location?
Well, definitely the support of Virginia Beach, you know, keeping the market there has been a good thing. And my loyal customers, the most valuable thing you can have is a loyal customer.
But you've had some of the chains come in and look at you, right?
Absolutely. Farm Fresh, they all walked through. We called them suits, and they checked us out. Yeah, they came and looked at us, but they can't really do the fresh pick today vegetables that we're doing. I mean, we have things you can come in and get stuff that was picked that day that we're growing ourselves. I have a group of women that help me harvest. We help plant, and we help our farmers. It's
an amazing thing. Libby Oliver, what would we find at the Williamsburg Farm Market?
You'd find fresh, local produce, and we are a producer-only market, which some markets are not.
What does that mean, producer-only?
That is a term that means that if you come, you're talking to the person that raised or grew or harvested the product, whether it's fish, meat, honey, vegetables, that they're the ones that can tell you the story behind the product.
And I think a lot of us think of farmers markets just having vegetables and fruit, but really you mentioned meat, dairy. I mean, there's a lot more there.
Right. So if you come to our market, you would like to be able to buy everything you needed for a meal. You can buy your cut flowers for the table. So you can plan your meal around what you know is going to be there that day, or as you shop even.
Now, this brings us to the conversation about community-supported agriculture, where you sort of partner with a farmer, I guess, Bev Sell, is how we would put this. Is that a fair enough description?
Traditionally, that's the way it's done, is it's between a farmer and a family. But over the last 5 years, we've pondered this conundrum, as we say, because sometimes a farmer can have a blight or a drought, and you don't end up with a whole lot. And usually most farmers generally only plant 4, 5, 6 things. They don't plant a variety of produce. So what we've come up with at the farm market is a farm market CSA. And we have farmers that grow tomatoes, and one that grows cucumbers, and one that grows eggplants. So you get a variety. So we've kind of become the urban answer to the CSA.
So the concept is you sign up, you come in once a week, you pick up your bag of groceries. And what a great experience to be able to sort of work with what you got, I guess.
Well, and we try to give you recipes, because after a while you get so much squash, you wonder what in the world will you do with that squash.
Indeed you do.
And right now, you know, this time of year we're having tomatoes galore, so we try to give recipes and some ideas on how to store, you know, cut them up and freeze them, things like that. So
as well with the Williamsburg market, and I'm sure as well with your market as well, you have refrigerated foods, meats, fish, dairy. You have that yummy hummus from over at Pasha, which is about the best hummus ever.
Yes,
maybe,
it is.
possibly.
Yes, could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
And that's interesting because it gives people a lot more experience.
What I really like about the 5-point CSA is that it's available year-round. And I appreciate CSAs, you know, because it's supporting a farmer, a farming community. But what is great is that most CSAs at best run only 6 months. And so 5 Points has developed enough of a network with farmers in the community and in the region that they can sustain something year-round. So for me, who is looking for outlets to be able to support these local farmers without having to drive all over Hampton Roads or even farther, I really appreciate that.
That's a great point. Do you have CSAs in the Williamsburg area?
We have them in the area, and they are one of the mix for farmers and for the customers both. I have customers that come to the farmers market on Saturday, but they do belong to a CSA, get those products during the week. And then, of course, for a farmer to make a livelihood, they've got to do more than come just once a week. So they've got other outlets like restaurants and hotels and such.
You know, I'm wondering, Michelle, you've been in business, as we said, 25 years, but this new... first of all, the scares that we've had have probably driven a bit of your business, but there have also been some movie productions, quite a number of them, in fact, that perhaps are helping your business. I wonder if that's the case.
Absolutely. I carry Polyface meats, which are Joel Saladin's product, and that's covered in the Omnivores Dilemma. I think it's the first third of that book is about our farmer and his methods, which are diverse and sustainable, and it just follows nature naturally. The chickens follow the cows in the fields, and it's just a perfect, and Joel's pretty brilliant, and he is in the movie Fresh, and we're exclusive with him here in Virginia Beach because we've been buying from him for so long, so we're the only retailer that's in this area.
Wow. So there are a number of these movies out, one of which, one of the best known ones, is called Fresh. And I think that's a bit of what we're seeing right now.
According to the USDA's own numbers, if you look at fresh produce grown in 1950 and compare it nutritionally with fresh produce grown today, you will find that the amounts of key nutrients, minerals, vitamins has diminished by 40%. The more you process food, the less nutritious it is. Food is at its most nutritious in its whole form, in its fresh form, but most of the supermarket is full of processed food from which all the nutrients have been expunged, basically.
And that, of course, is Michael Pollan, who's the author of The Omnivores Dilemma, one of a number of books and movies that are out now at the moment that really speak to this issue of what's going on with the food that we eat. While we were watching that clip, Bevsel, you said it's just a shame that we've done this to ourselves.
Yes. I mean, our country, what we've done to each other, I cannot believe how we've allowed this to happen. I mean, in this movie, it talks about how in the last 50 years, our food has changed more than it has in the last 5,000. And we've allowed this to happen. I mean, and look at the way, you can't tell me the way a child learns and what a child eats isn't connected. I mean, diabetes, childhood obesity, I mean, it's running rampant, and we're just da-da. It's serious. I mean, we've been touting this for years, and people keep saying, you're just an alarmist, you're just a little crazy, which I am, but
which you will freely acknowledge, right?
Yes, but it's time.
Well, Libby Oliver, I wondered, you've seen the movie Fresh.
Yes.
What do you take out of that movie? What is a compelling point for you?
Just what Bev's saying, that we need to get closer to the earth, and we need to get closer to home. That it's scary to think about where our food is going to come from, not just the safety of it, but where is it going to come from, because since I've had a market for 7 years, For instance, we've had 2 different dairies go bankrupt. One was a new one was an older established one. So in Virginia, and I should say creamery is a real term because that's where the milk is processed and made into things. There are still dairies, but there are not very many of those either. So to find somebody who will go into that type of business today, the expense of it and the hard work that it takes, it's very hard to think that it's going to happen. And so to have one creamery really left in Virginia, then that tells you how far your milk's having to come and what's having to be, what they have to do to it to make it
last that long.
Yes.
Yeah. And you've noticed the same change, Michelle.
Absolutely. We've the same 2 dairies, I suppose, that we've lost. But I want to say that I feel like it's the organic movement is a movement that's just, you know, to me it was the hope for the future. And we do rebuild our soils, and I think, you know, that's where we focus. So our foods are, you know, really full of nutrition. And my main farm is 30 years, no chemicals, and that's something I really like to talk about.
Yeah.
Because that's a long time of weeding, you know, and cultivating instead of spraying things that end up in the water and in the air. So when you talk about a green footprint, I'm going to brag a little bit. We've been a long time, you know, not adding to.
In the big picture, it's going to take things like universities and schools, and we're seeing a lot happening with those. William and Mary, University of Virginia are good examples of colleges where the students are kind of rising up and saying, we want real food in our cafeterias. And they're working with local farmers and getting out there. They're not just talking anymore, they're actually mandating this. And then, of course, in the local elementary schools.
Right. It's a huge education process that has to be underway.
I also think it comes back to farmers making informed decisions and recognizing that there are now funds available in the Commonwealth that Governor Kane put in both the 2009 budget and also 2010. $40 million across 2 years for agricultural best management practices. That's a really big deal. And that's basically helping farmers make these informed decisions, put in those nutrient management plans, plant cover crops, do things that are going to save them money in the long run, enable them to produce very healthy crops, and really benefit the environment.
It's such an interesting point because there are lots of reasons that people would come to this kind of an eating lifestyle. But this point that we've been talking about in the last couple of minutes about the depletion of nutrients in the food, it seems to me that unless you've seen one of these movies, that's a piece of it that is not getting out there in the mainstream.
We're not talking about it. We just aren't talking about it. And we all know why we're not talking about it, because it's a huge industry, and you don't want to rock that boat. But dovetailing on what you said, my concern is farmers. You know, we've had an increase in farmers market and a decrease in farmers. So where are you getting this stuff? I mean, the balance isn't there. So we're trying to figure out ways that we can help inspire and encourage young people to get into farming by starting community gardens across Hampton Roads. We've got a demo garden in the back of our farm market, and we've got 2 other ones going. And I keep saying, and I talked to Governor Kane about this, I said, you know, we've got to make farming sexy. Somehow we've got to make this that the kids want to do.
You know, there's that song, My Tractor's Sexy.
That's
it. My Tractor's Sexy. Maybe there's something to it.
Maybe there's hope there. I don't know.
Indeed
I think
so.
there is hope. I read recently about a young group of farmers, I think like the 40 under 40 farmers. So
fun.
There are younger farmers that are tied in through the Farm Bureau that are starting to recognize the importance of healthy, sustainable farming and a market for that.
We will hope for the future. Thank you all so much for being with us tonight. It's been great having you, and best of success. I'll be back in just a moment with a final thought. This region is fortunate to have a number of farm markets. The 5 Points Market is just the one that's closest to where I live. And while I would not describe myself as a regular, I would describe myself as an appreciative admirer who's on the precipice of a full-on conversion experience. The 5 Points Market was the brainchild of Bev Sell and others, and if there's one thing I know about Bev, it's that she is like a dog with a bone when she's committed to something. So you had to know that 5 Points would grow out of its fledgling space and into something that would attract even more customers, connecting farmers with people who consume their food. Well, that's just what's happened at the new location on Church Street in Norfolk. I was there one Saturday and I made the mistake of letting my eye wander over to something called Swiss chard. Miss Eagle Eye over here immediately asked if I had tried it. I thought it looked rather like something you could thatch a roof with, so I said no, and I was pretty sure I wasn't going to be trying it. Should have known better. In about 30 seconds, Bev came back with a recipe printed out, and I had no choice. So that night, I added a heaping tablespoon of skepticism to my pan of Swiss chard. Why, there it is now. And you know what? It wasn't bad. They say you can use it as you might use spinach, and like its leafy green cousin, it is full of fiber, vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. It's pennies compared to spinach, and you'll burn as many calories chewing it as you do consuming it, so that's a great deal too. And I think I might come to like it if I boiled it for a few minutes first, which someone else recommended. The point is, I never would have tried Swiss chard if it hadn't been for Bev Cell's persistence. And in the case of turning around our consuming habits and the lobbies that support them, persistence is probably just what it's going to take. So the next time you're in the farmer's market, why not try a vegetable you've never tried before? It won't hurt you, it'll probably help you, and more than anything else, it'll introduce you to your neighbors who are growing the food you're putting on your table. Well, if you'd like to introduce us to a new fruit or vegetable, very easy to do. Just give us an email. Let us know what's on your mind. Send us an email at whatmatters@whro.org. You'd think I'd know this by now after so many years. Whatmatters.tv is the website, and there is where you can register for weekly e-bits. You can also find us on Facebook. We have a page there as well if you'd like to become a fan. And if you'd care to, you can write to us at What Matters, 5200 Hampton Boulevard, Norfolk, Virginia. Thanks for listening and watching. We'll see you next week for another look at What Matters.